Hi friends, it's Sarah from rufflesandrainboots.com, and guess what? Today I am here with a no-sew holiday gnome. I am making this Santa hat cutie, and if you'd like to make him, just boop, stick around. As always, please give this video a like so I know you're here, and because it really helps me with this YouTube algorithm. So I like to show you the front, the back, the sides, everything, and here he is. You have a couple options to make him. I'm going to talk about the cuts in a second, but I'm using a 1-inch wood round for the nose, and I'm going to add a little color with some blush. So I also have a blush brush. I'm using crushed velvet and this gold foam for the belt, and for the beard I'm using a white Mongolian fur, and to cut that I need an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat. For weight, I'm using poly pellets, and for fill, I'm using polyfill. Both of those you can get at the craft store. Even though we're not sewing, I do recommend pins. So I'm going to start with this base piece. So you cut the base body and the base round. I'm just going to follow the instructions in order to get this base piece ready, but I'm not going to add the round yet. I'm going to let that glue solidify. So I'm going to come over here to the hat, and this is regular blizzard fleece, which I can never honestly tell which is the right side or not, so meh. But I'm just going to use my glue gun and do the top and the long edge. If you would like to add a brim, do that before you put right sides together and glue this all up. Speaking of glue, I am getting a lot of questions about the glue gun. It is the Surebonder detail tip, and I will link it below if I can find it. I think I got it on Amazon. So the next bit is we're just going to put the right side of the base piece inside the body, and we're going to glue just the seam area, set it aside, and let it solidify. For the arms, you can absolutely put right sides together. I'm lazy, so I'm just going to glue the wrong sides of the long edge together on both of the arms. So I am using a real-time tutorial, been asked to do a couple more of those, so they're just over 10 minutes long. Let me know if you like this format here. So on the mittens, I will say, after doing like 4 of these now, I would do half of the mittens first with right sides together, set it aside, do the other mitten, and then come back. What I have found is that when the glue is solidified, you don't have any squishy movement, and it really helped to keep that mitten like round and really looking nice when you flipped it out. All right, so we are now going to set those both aside and move back to this body piece. Grab your pins, and for those of you who are new, you're just going to pick it up and let it fall. And where it falls, you're going to join those 2 pieces. Let me get back in frame. It's not like I do this for a living or anything. Okay, so you're just going to pin these 2 right here. Don't shift them or squish them or move them. Fleece is one of those fabrics that will really move pretty easily. So just make sure you leave it where it is and then split the difference between the pin and where you glued. So you have this nice big flat, I mean, it looks kind of like a puppet mouth, but yeah, I'm just gonna pin it right there in the middle. And then I'm going to split the difference between the pin and the glue, and then split the difference between the other 2 pins on the other side. You see? So it should all be flat. There's no scrunching in the base piece. So when you pin it and when you glue it, it will be flat. You can see here, I'm just gonna shift and move until I get it flat, and then I'm gonna pin it. And then again, I'm going to split the difference and pin this. It's easy peasy, right? I'm so impressed with all of you who told me you were hot gluing my sewing pattern, because I would not have thought of this. I'm absolutely not joking with you. In my mind, there's a delineation between gluing and sewing, but no, not anymore. You have convinced me. All right, so now our next step is just to take our little detail gun and glue this together. I also got asked on the last one, am I using fabric hot glue sticks for this? Nope, just regular hot glue. They are the Surebonder glue sticks, so I have found that the hot glue does matter. So I'm going to speed this part up just because it's literally the same thing. But I do love the Surebonder glue sticks, and I love the Gorilla glue sticks. So both of those I buy interchangeably, just on Amazon. It's a local company to me, but I did see Surebonder mini glue sticks just the other day at the Joann's. Okay. So once you have this base glued all the way around, go ahead and set it aside before you start tugging. Speaking of tugging, we're going to move to the hat. So I do recommend you just start yanking on it and making sure that this is solid before moving on. And then grab, a bamboo skewer or a pen or something to help you poke out the very tip of both the hat and the body. All right. I just run it between my fingers to make sure I have that seam. And then sometimes I thwack it on the table. All right, again, I'm just pulling it, making sure my seam is pretty because this is gonna be seen. All right, so then moving over to our little mittens. Oh my goodness, they're so tiny. So for those of you who have the pattern, these are the tie top mittens, so the longer of the two. And I'm just going to rub those seams in between my fingers just to make sure it's laying flat for both of the mittens. And for the arms, I'm just going to put the seam in the middle and I'm going to tuck the arm all the way into the tip of the mitten, and then I'm just going to tie those off in a minute. For the body, I do the same thing. I tug on every little seam and make sure it's good before turning everything right sides out. Again, using that bamboo skewer for the tip. And then here comes one of my favorite parts of making gnomes. I thwack it on the table. Run that bottom seam through my fingers and then just thwack. I'm just making sure that that seam along the back is good. Thwack, 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 thwack. I will keep the sound effects to a minimum as well. All right, so now we're going to start with our weight. So I am using the poly pellets, which are non-odor, non-moisture absorbing, and I do recommend you use them. I'm using 1 cup and I'm gonna fill the body with a funnel. Once that's in, I'm going to tamp it down and then I'm going to fill the body with polyfill. I get asked a lot about how much polyfill to use, and the answer is when you squeeze it and it bounces back, it's full. If it doesn't, it's not. So I'm just going to use these Dollar Tree clips here, and then I'm going to use my glue gun to secure this opening. So I'm just going to glue a little, hold it or move the clips down, and then glue a little more, hold it and move the clips down, that kind of stuff. Move, move, glue, glue, move, move. And again, no one is ever going to see this unless you're making an interchangeable hat gnome. So if it looks like Frankenstein's monster, you're fine. All right, so I do make sure this lands every single time straight up. And then I'm going to slip on the hat. Do make sure, because we didn't put a wire in, this part's a little trickier, but do make sure the very 2 tips of the body and the hat are exactly lined up, because that helps with everything else. I do use some pins in the back to make sure the back of the hat doesn't move whilst I do things like this, which is just to scrunch up the hat to give me an idea of where the nose could be. I'm going to put a pin right there, and then it's time for a really fun part after I roll this edge up here along the side. You don't have to do this part yet. I just like to get a look of it. For faux fur, you are going to put it face down on your cutting mat. You're going to make sure the pile is all brushed down the right way, and then you're going to measure however you measure. I'm measuring with my fingers, and then you're going to cut just the fabric backing with your X-Acto knife. I have an entire video on cutting faux fur if you need it. So we're going to find the middle and then do the depth. For Mongolian fur, it's very long, so I don't need a very big beard at all for the entire front to be covered. So now I'm just going to make a U shape, fold it over, and I'm going to speed this part up for you because it's the exact same thing. You're just matching it up, and when you cut faux fur the right way, look, no transfer. Get that out of the way. I did brush mine. I'm going to use that to split the nose, or split the fur for the nose as well. And then I'm just going to put it into position, remove the pin, and tuck it up just where that nose was going to go. And then pull the hat out of the way so I don't get glue on it, because I'm not the best with a hot glue gun. And then I'm going to flip down the top and glue down the fabric backing. I was asked the other day, can I sew this on? You absolutely can. I am not ever going to do that, but you can. You can absolutely sew this on. So once the top is secure, I just go ahead and glue down the entire bottom. Squish, squish, squish. And then I'm going to use my little cat comb or dog brush, whatever this is, to split the fur to its fabric backing, making sort of a mustache. I'm going to add a generous portion of hot glue after I blush my nose. So you don't have to do this part. I just felt that you know, Santa has like a little pink nose, right? And I was too lazy to make a nose, so I'm just going to add some blush to a wood round, add a generous portion of hot glue, and then I'm going to give an intense nose boop, boop, and let that dry before moving on. Now it's time for me to do my hat. I'm going to make a teeny tiny little hem, and then I'm going to glue that to the top of the nose. After I flip it all down, make sure it's in place. Just glue that right to the top of the nose before moving on. And now I'm just working on my scrunch because I'm going to, isn't he cute? You can stop there, by the way. You don't have to use arms. No one's making you. This is your gnome. All right, so I'm just gonna go grab some embroidery thread, make a little red tie here on my mittens, and then I'm gonna tuck those into place and then pin them. And then I'm going to use the worst fabric in the world, which is a 4-way stretch crushed velvet, but I have this left and I'm going to use it. If you have black velvet ribbon, that would be super cool, or even the little faux leather, good, because it would avoid you having to do both hems on the edges and then flipping it up into itself to make a nice 1 inch or so little belt. I just pinned that in place and got out my very sparkly foam. I use this for all of my buckles because I can never find buckles at the craft store. I cut out a little square in the middle before gluing my little belt down here, lining up everything in the back, and then cutting off the excess. The next step is just to make sure all of this is down anywhere it's going to be tugged, and then glue my little buckle right on the front. I just glued my hand in there too, by the way. All right, so our next step is just to first glue the arm to the body, and then glue the hat to the arm and excuse me, and the body all the way around. You know what would be, I just thought of this. If you added a little pom-pom to the top of that, that would be super cute. Oh, now I'm gonna have to do that. Okay, so this is called plush fur. This is optional. You can use chenille yarn, anything you want. With plush fur, go ahead and cut it about 1 inch wide and then glue the fabric backing together. Then glue where the fabric comes together in the back, right on there. You're gonna get a nice solid seam. So I like to do the nose first and then do this all the way around the rest of my gnome. This stuff is amazing. I absolutely love it. However, you're going to need a lint brush because no matter how I cut this, it's a shedding fabric. So I'm going to go get my lint brush and get all this stuff off of this guy and off of me. And here he is. Isn't he adorbs? To quote the kids. No, I just really love him. But hey, it's not about me. It's what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also below, you can get the link for the Scandinavian Sweeties pattern. As always, thank you for being here. Here's a Christmas Gnomes playlist.